we go. Good to see you, man.
Happy
Hey,
Mother's Day, Chris.
happy Mother's Day. Oh, oh,
Looking
well, how you
good.
feeling? You feel more feminine? No.
I'm a mother something.
You're a mother something, man.
I got my Mother's Day shirt on. You like that?
I've got my nothing shirt on. Oh shoot, I did not
I
call
wore.
on.
Funny story. I wore this to church, and there's a guy at my church who's like cradle Orthodox. He like grew up in the Orthodox church. I asked him if he liked my Mother's Day church, and he said, yeah. I feel like I want to kiss it, and I was like, please don't. Like I said, you can see it on his face. Like the moment it left his mouth, it's like, oh yeah, no.
That's fun. Oh man. So I so just to address people out there, should they look later, we're both in our cars right now. Um, we were planning to do this in a completely different venue, but you had car problems, and I
Mhm.
promised you that if you were going to be babying your car while we were doing this, I would also be in my car. So so we're both in cars.
You're a man of your
Oh
word.
heck yeah, yeah, no other way to be. Um, which, funny enough, I
Yeah.
now this is completely not Bible related, but I mean it could be a metaphor for such. But so in my job, I've got a person that I was working with that, and I'm hoping this isn't gossip, so to speak. But let's just put it this way: a person was not being accountable as they should, and as a result, they were uh, they were found out. So by not being people of the word of their job, they basically expose themselves as people not being of their word. So basically, it doesn't matter if you're in the light of day or the light of night. If you don't do your word, people will notice. So if I was sitting in my office right now and you were in your car, it would be a big old juxtaposition. So we're both hanging out in cars. I don't have to, but it's kind of better. By the way, what's the temperature there?
Do I have a thermometer in here?
I don't know. Is it
I don't
cold
know.
out? Is it cold outside when you go out? Do you need to wear a long sleeve
Uh,
shirt?
I'm yeah, I did, but and it is raining. I'm not.
Ah, because you're in
It's
the
colder outside than
Northwest.
in the car itself. Yeah, sorry.
Uh, so
Yeah,
it's actually warmer outside than it is in the car right now here. So I'm happy. All right. So not
that's good.
to.
I love the lighting in here. Actually, it's kind of spooky.
I know.
Yeah. So Bible. Yeah, we should probably hop to it
Bible.
because
Let's
we
talk about
we did
Bible
like
stuff.
a couple hours worth of Bible studies last time we did this, and we're not even through Genesis 1 yet.
We're not even not
So
even through Genesis 1. What's gonna
yeah.
happen?
So
I'm
this
so
this
excited.
God,
So we got to
this
the fifth day.
God. Yeah, this God created the entire world in 7 days. What he did on day six may shock you. So just as a clickbait opener there,
Shocking! What God did
get
on
some
day
more
six.
views. Yeah. So just as a quick
We're already
recap.
throwing
So
out.
we did a general overview of the Bible on the first episode, kind of what it is, who we are, what we did. Um, we um maybe one of the things that I didn't do that I maybe should have done. I don't make anything up, right? We don't make anything up here. Neither of us do. We're here to study the Bible. So in the interest
I
of
might
kind of
accidentally make stuff up. I metaphorize a
yeah,
lot. I
yeah,
anthropomorphize. I am that guy. You don't make stuff up. I do.
God
Maybe.
makes stuff up
Potentially.
as we're studying right now. All I mean is that I feel like I should drop like I get a lot of information from like I'm giving you some of my favorites here. I'm not gonna like obsessively cite all of my sources because I think there's a certain extent where like constantly citing everything becomes a little counterproductive.
Well, we
Um,
got a Bible here, so it
yeah,
can
and
cite
I don't
itself.
keep like terribly meticulous notes. Well, because I'm bringing stuff up that I'm getting from places, right? that aren't necessarily like right from the Bible. So I'm using
Okay.
Blue Letter Bible for a lot of my interlinear stuff. So I'll be like looking at words, and some of my notes are just coming from me noticing that. But I am
Okay.
I'm a fan of like Michael Michael Heisler.
Michael
I'm
Haas.
sorry, I'm getting his. I'm, I read this guy's name
That
all
was
the
a bait,
time,
by the
and
way.
I think it's Heiser.
Yeah, I see
Yeah,
your
Heiser.
notes.
So he's a
Hello.
yeah,
Hey
he's
guys.
a biblical
Hi.
scholar that he. Oh,
Caucasus
hello.
Mountains from Russia. Hi. How's it going, guys? Uh, so I won't notice these because
He's sort
right.
of my Protestant side guy.
Well, no, because
Huh?
right now where I've got you actually. The phone is sitting behind the gear changer on my vehicle. I cannot actually
Oh, that's
see
where
these
mine's
comments.
sitting.
So I have to actually pick it up and look so I can see. So this is going to be
Oh
like
yeah.
a to see comments. It's going to be a little bit weird. So if we don't,
Oh, well,
so
hello.
so all of YouTube, if we have a problem seeing you, and it'll happen in the future, it's because our setup is not good right now. So
Yeah,
hi, bye, love you.
my car died. We're
Anyway,
in the car. I'm letting it charge. Yeah. So yeah, I was kind of citing my story, some of my the people that I typically
you're
follow, and
pre-citing your sources.
yeah, I'm pre-citing like my typical sources. Because I'm probably gonna forget to do anything like that if I say something weird that like it seems like I didn't get it from. But I take notes from everywhere as I'm studying, and that's sort of my Protestant go-to for like counsel of God's stuff. When I
Hmm.
cite things like that, I didn't learn it from him first. I'm a bigger fan of like Father Stephen DeYoung. He's got like a few different PhDs, and I follow his
Stephen
blogs
DeYoung.
and podcasts as well. Yeah, but Heiser, he'll his literature he'll bring out a bunch of stuff from like multiple sources, in his like bibliographies are like pages long, and he'll say like kind of pretty much the same thing. So it's not, these aren't like orthodox things that I'm saying per se, because they're both saying all of them. Like they'll read
Okay.
the same thing in the scripture that I'm kind of taking their side with. And from that sphere, like Andrew Stephen Damick, especially for church history, after um, just in the West generally. I learn a lot from him and his literature, and I'm a pretty big fan of Seraphim Hamilton, and he's another YouTuber actually, but he's got a lot of really dense content. Um, and Yep, that's probably good for now. There are more. If I think of them, I'll tell you.
All right.
So
So
that's that. I didn't go over.
where exactly did we leave off here on Genesis? So I don't think we have to
Yep.
recap
So
too
so
awful much.
far,
So we did
no,
day
no,
1 through
just basically,
5.
yeah, day 1 through 5. So far, we went over God created the heavens and the earth, and that was like spiritual realm, temporal, just everything, spiritual and physical. He created them, and he created so everything in existence was formless and void, and those were the two problems that he's right now he's in the middle of setting out solving those two problems, and he's solving the formless on days 1 through 3, which we went over, by creating these spaces, usually by separating them. So he created he separated the waters vertically and horizontally, and he created dry land, and he created the
Mm,
plants. And then on days 4 through 6, he's going to set about filling them with life, solving the void problem, right?
hmm.
So now the earth has form. He solved the formless problem. So right now he's solving the void problem by filling it with
Okay.
life, right? So I think when we left off, he created sea monsters like the Leviathan.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's all coming
God's
back
a
to you now, right?
G. Making Leviathan. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the biggest fish I ever want to kill.
Is it the one that we cited? I know that this is a creation myth, and usually there's a chaos comp in here, but oh no, it was Tannin, the Canaanite sea creature that it actually there's yeah, the sea
Wait, there's
monster.
another one?
Yeah, yep,
So I got
Tannin,
more
yep.
than I got more than one monster I gotta kill.
Yeah, just in the Hebrew, the word, it's sometimes it's great sea creatures, and sometimes it's like sea monsters. But yeah, it's tannin is the word here, and it's the same word used in Exodus when Aaron's staff turns into this serpent. What it
Okay.
translates as serpent is actually this tannin, this Canaanite multi-headed sea monster.
All right.
Yeah,
And for
great
those of you
stuff.
out there who don't know, I'm a fisherman, so I want to catch a
Yeah,
tannin.
yeah. Oh, I was gonna say like it's freaking you out, right? No, no, you're.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it.
It was like, yeah, challenge accepted. All right.
Yeah, yeah, sounds exciting.
This is great. Get your harpoons, boys.
Oh man, so then
Oh, I love you.
so so I think we've so far we've created all of the creatures, we've filled the world with life, including green things. I don't think we have man yet on the sixth day, right?
Well,
Is that where
now
man
to be
comes in?
clear, yeah, to be clear, we haven't created anything.
Oh, oh God. Okay, stop being okay. Okay, we're talking about
Yeah, I'd be
God.
pedantic. Yeah.
So God created life and all that stuff, right? But God
Yeah.
has not created man.
Right.
Is
Right.
that
Right.
right?
We're on. Yep. He created the birds and the fish.
Birds and the fish and created man.
Actually, we haven't. I don't. Have we? Did we get? We didn't even get through this whole day yet, so we're actually still
Are
on day
you kidding?
4. I
Okay,
think. Yeah.
okay.
I'm
Where was
sorry.
your last
I'm so
note?
sorry. Oh no, no. We are on day 5. We are in the middle of day 5 because day 4 is when he created the sun, moon, and stars.
Well, then
Right,
let's
and we kind
start
of
on
went
the
over
middle
that.
of day five. Start us off
Okay,
there,
we're in the
Captain.
middle of day 5. Okay. So, okay, so and
Genesis
God blessed
which?
them. Oh, sorry. I didn't write the verse numbers. I should have written the verse numbers.
Gosh darn it.
Let me see if I've got enough Wi-Fi out here in the car for it to load my Blue
No,
Letter
no,
Bible.
I've got a thing. Let the waters teem with swarms of living creatures. Let the birds fly above the earth in open expanse of heavens. That's 120. Okay, let's see. Let's go over here.
It should be the and God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply."
Oh yeah, yeah. So that would be Genesis 2:20. Sorry, Genesis, yeah, 2:21 to 22. God created the great sea monsters and every living creature that moves, with which the waters swarmed after their kind, and every winged bird after its kind. And God saw that it was good. And then 2:22, God blessed them, saying, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth." And then 23, there was evening and there was morning, a fifth day. And now we go on to Genesis 2:24. And it seems like
Okay.
a new thing.
Yeah. So okay, well, so let's stop there for a minute. So I want to point out that we haven't seen anything like death yet, right? Nothing's died so far. Um, but right now, God is telling all of the new life that He's made so far. Well, He's told the birds and the fish anyway to be fruitful and multiply. And I think that this communicates something very important about God's creation of life, right? Which is that He doesn't just create each individual living thing; He creates life in a manner that multiplies exponentially, right? So, this is an important takeaway because we've recently experienced a very rather unprecedented population growth, um, pretty much
From
worldwide.
nothing
Like
to a
we've
lot.
kind of seen a glimpse of what this would look like, and we have death, right? So absent death, this should have happened like a lot earlier. This whole filling of the earth with life,
So
right?
you're thinking this is going to happen pretty darn quick. No
I
death
do
included.
think so, yes. So,
Okay.
but this is like instead we've kind of been struggling for most of human history to keep like
Mm.
birth rates and survival rates at a level that replaces the death rates. Like that's been the project of mankind for most of our history. And if we're lucky at a higher rate so that our people grow in number. Um, yes, Russia is a beautiful country. Um, while growth has happened uh, globally exponentially, so we're here in America, and our growth rate has, or like our reproduction rate has fallen below the um, the replacement rates, right? So even though we have like seen this like boom, what it's
Oh,
created
you've
for us
fallen.
is this like fear of like overpopulation and limited resources and whatnot, right? And it's
Mhm.
created these like weird situations where we're not actually like doing the right thing enough to be able to maintain these kinds of exponential growth where we're filling the planet with life, and now it's like giving us this like really clear idea of what our problem is, right? Like relative to each other.
Mhm.
But it's important to point out that this is actually part of the plan, right? God created us not to die, and he created as soon as the birds and fish show up, he's doing this. Um, right. So and then after the fall, you get God regularly attempting to teach us that He is the provider and that we ought to be trusting in Him, but we're not doing that. So right, and He shows over even as far as Jesus, right? He multiplies the bread and the fish. He's saying like, look, there is no such thing. We're still supposed to be multiplying and filling the earth with life and putting it in good order, right? According to his order and according to his providence, right? And I think that's worth it to point out. Hey guys, hey, hi, hello from the caucus. Oh no, that's the same. I think we did we get rid of a. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. I'll keep going. I'll let you engage with the chat.
Yeah. As best as I
All right.
can, which should
Okay.
be typically not much. Uh,
Great. Do
because
you have
because
anything on what we've read so far?
so sorry. Can you repeat that?
Do you have anything on what?
So what we've done so far. Okay. So what I
Yeah, we're
find
talking
beautiful
about
about the
filling the earth with life. I paused
so
and I
be
took a moment
fruitful
to
and
reflect
multiply
on.
and fill the waters and the seas and let birds multiply on earth. There was evening, there was morning, a fifth day. So beautiful thing that you mentioned. There is no death to this point, which blew my mind. Um, and to me, so far, we're just separating and filling the earth is what we're doing. And so we're only on the fifth day. You would think that, I mean, I don't know how big these days are. I don't know how relative this is, but when I look at it, I go, man, for the fifth day, we are really productive. Uh, and no death is occurring so far. So I'm just waiting to see when this death occurs. Sadly, because we know the end story of this, death does happen. Um,
Okay.
so, so what I'm excited for is I want to see what happens next on
You
the
just
sixth
want to
day.
watch something die. I get it.
Of course, it's a macabre way to look at it. I want to see some die. Because I know what my life is, Cheeto. Uh, so, would you mind if I read 24?
Yeah, go for it.
Then God said, let earth bring forth living creatures after their kind, cattle and creeping things and beasts of the earth after their kind. And it was so. God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said,
Okay.
tell me.
Yes. Okay. It's interesting looking at the difference here because yours says what cattle, mine just says livestock.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm kind
heard
of
the thing
wondering if
earlier, livestock. Yeah.
yeah, livestock. I wonder actually. I'm gonna like go quickly over here and I'm gonna try and.
I could see cattle being livestock only. It
Well,
doesn't have to mean
yeah,
it
I
doesn't
wanna
have to
see
mean
what the
cows.
interlinear. Yeah, why would they be so specific? That's like saying apple instead of fruit.
Well, and the one that I'm using here, this is going to be the NASB. So
Okay.
this would be the American version of it. Cattle is just going to be the closest thing to livestock.
Ooh, I just found something kind of cool actually. Behema is the word for cattle, so I think cattle might be closer.
Are you kidding me? No way, bro.
Well, it
Really?
can be general, beast, cattle, or animal. But here's okay. So
And
here's the
cattle meaning
thing.
cow.
Behemoth. No. Okay. So you know the word behemoth.
I've heard the word behemoth. I know a Static X song called Behemoth.
Yeah. Behemoth is mentioned in Job, and it's one of those creatures that like it puzzled people for a while, and then the creation, there's a section of creationists really, really to be a dinosaur because it talks about its tail being really, really big, like a cedar of a tree trunk or
Ooh.
something. But behemoth, you can see it right here. Behema is like a form of this same word, and it's cattle. What it's referring to is this like sort of mythological, like one of those mythological cow things, right? Like
Is
you
it
get
is
in
it
the
a
ancient Near
single
East.
is it a single hoofed creature?
I don't know. It's a well,
Is
it's
it a
it's supposed to
non
be this.
is it a non-cloven hoofed creature?
Are you asking if a behemoth is clean or unclean?
Yes.
According to
Can
the
we eat
Levitical
it?
law, I don't know that, my good sir. I would have to look it up. What I do know
This
that
is what's
is
gonna
it's
make these
the
go three
behemoth.
hours long.
Yeah, yeah. Because the behemoth and the leviathan are both pegged to be dinosaurs, but I think that I think that's more boring than what they actually end up being. The idea here is that like the leviathan is this image of the um like the chaos of the sea, right? Like it's very similar to the symbolism of the sea, and that it's this chaos monster. It's like a sea dragon that, in some legends in the ancient Near East, it like wraps itself all the way around the earth like an Ouroboros.
Yeah.
The behemoth is kind of the opposite, right? It's um like extreme order to the point of tyranny, right? Yeah, like you can think of like a police state or something. Um, but yeah, importantly, it is represented by this behemoth, the cow. So that's the word. It's I just thought that I didn't even realize it's not in my notes or anything. This is completely off the cuff.
Well, you know what? This is what I would say. This is knowing what I know about biblical things. I would almost
Mhm.
say that even though behemoth or cattle might be a closer translation, I would almost imagine, and this is the Bible study thing coming in, and you know, God forgive me if I'm wrong, livestock almost does seem like the better terminology, primarily um, because of what you just said, order, extreme order of what behemoth is. You know, the exact opposite of, let's say, leviathan. Now, even if you're a little bit off, and I'm a little bit off, the idea is that what do cattle do? They do basically whatever the heck you tell them to do. Livestock, in general, as a group, would do similarly. So let's just call this livestock for now. Anything that
Okay.
is not, I mean, a zebra is not livestock. Zebra do whatever zebra gonna do. A
Right.
honey badger don't give a heck. He'll do whatever he wants. you know, livestock,
Yeah.
will
Well, you're
do what you goat. Goats will do what you want. Sheep will do what you
yeah.
want. Cows will do what you want. It's like a almost a subsection of animals that are really, really complacent.
Yeah, the really easily domesticable ones. Yeah.
Yeah. So domesticable animals. So let's see here. Okay, God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle or the livestock after their kind. Because I've seen it said livestock as well, and everything that creeps on the ground after its kind. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image." Now, what I notice here is "our" is capitalized. So then God said, "Let us make man in our image," which I want your
All right.
opinion
So
on here soon.
I'm gonna nip a couple things in the butt here before we get on to man.
In the bud or
Um,
the butt?
yeah, in the butt. I don't actually know what the term's supposed to be. Is it butt or butt?
It's bud typically like a rosebud, but if you want to talk about butts, we can do that.
Makes sense. Like deadheading it. Yep. Okay, got it. Gardening. We haven't even gotten to a garden yet. But really, what I want to stop and say, like, hey, kind is not the same thing as species.
Mm,
Um, right? So he's telling everything to multiply after
Like
its kind,
type,
right? So
right?
according to his,
Type,
he's
right?
setting up these what? Well, according to pattern, right? So
According to
he,
type, like pattern. Yeah, like you said.
yeah,
Sorry.
pattern, yeah. So you're not just supposed to multiply, you're supposed to multiply after your own pattern. So he created everything already good, and we're supposed to multiply the good. Um, and this
Okay.
whole like pattern and kind is going to come into play like later after the fall too, right? So when it talks about like who you're really a son of, for example, are you a son of Abraham or are you a son of Satan in the New Testament? It's
Hmm.
according to your works, right?
Hmm.
So so that's what's going on there. So okay, so God said, "Let us make man in our image." So first of all, um, let us make man in our image after our likeness. All right, so image and likeness are more or less synonyms here, as far as I can tell. There are loads of ink spilled trying to sort of litigate what this exactly means and like define these terms in ways that like sort of try and make sense of different theologies within Christendom. But if I'm just reading Genesis forward, it there are like distinctions drawn between image and likeness. With a lot of like early church fathers, for example, will say like one of these is a pattern we're created with, while the other is a pattern we're supposed to participate in actively, right? But
Hmm.
I don't remember which is which. um, Another word, I think in the Greek, one of these words is like the word where we get icon from. So if you ever
Hmm.
see the word icon show up, a lot of people will say we're supposed to be icons of God or icons of Christ instead of image and likeness, but it's kind of the same idea that they're getting at. So we're the idea here is that as sons of God, we're supposed to follow after His pattern, not just after. We're not supposed to multiply according to our own pattern per se, right? We're
Well,
here as
well,
representatives of God,
let me cut
right?
in
We're
real
in
quick
His
and
image and
ask
likeness. Okay.
if, for example, um, say we were created in His image physically, right? You know, let's say we get
Hmm.
three members lopped off and a fourth one singed off by acid. We're not going to look too great. We're not going to look like what God looks like, but we could still follow in His pattern, uh, as far as our spirit and our intention, right? So I would imagine that the physicality, it's set up in a certain way, but it's not. We're not bound by physicality. We're bound by something superior, um, to
Yeah,
be like
yeah. Like
something.
if that happened to me, I wouldn't be like less a son of my own earthly father either.
Okay. All right. All
Um,
right.
so so um, yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's something to that, right? You have this very old idea that the the actual person of the Godhead, who we are made in an image and likeness of, is Christ
Hmm.
as our firstborn, right?
Hmm.
So, but the big idea here is that like God put things in order and He filled it with life, right? And the image we're gonna get of that is a garden. So what God's going to do is He's going to tell man here to spread out, put the earth in order, and fill it with life in like pattern. And that pattern
Hmm.
is the garden pattern. So we're going for gardening there. We're not there yet, but we're gonna get to that. But this is where it kind of first shows up. Like and I think this is the big takeaway here. It pleases the Lord um to have like partners to work with His creation. Right? He
Hmm.
could do all of this all by himself, but it pleases Him. And you'll notice here, after our likeness and our image,
Hmm.
um, a lot of
Now, now,
people will use this to mean the Trinity, but there's also a lot of traditions where he's already created the angelic host at this point, and He's got a council,
okay.
and there's a certain amount of like, okay, so they don't like spiritual beings don't have that much agency in the physical realm because they're spiritual beings,
Mm.
right? They don't manifest physically the same way that we do, right? So the way that they would manifest is through us, right? Because that's all they are, is a pattern. So what we would, yeah. So their entire agency is by like convincing people to do things, right? Um, but but that's mhm.
I saw earlier that in our previous Genesis talkings, how God was a spirit above the waters, um,
Yeah, the Holy Spirit.
as if he were the Holy Spirit. Now, does that incorporate into the Trinity, where it actually does make the R capital be be a real hour
I would
in
say
that way?
so, yeah. Either way you read this, I think is I don't know which is the reality, like which Moses was trying to go for here.
Okie
But
dokie. But is there any translation on this that you know of currently? No, probably not.
they all use our. Oh, I'm using the SV still.
Okay,
But
okay.
I mean, okay, so every time that you ever see anybody going into the like the throne room of God, let's say, there's it's always teeming with life,
Hmm.
right? You see all of these like living creatures in angelic host and a sort of council. Every time it gets mentioned where God is up there with just them, he'll be talking to divine beings, right? He'll be talking to the gods or the sons of God, almost like he's got his own pantheon up there. But it's not a pantheon because he created them all. These are all the hosts, right? So you'll we'll get into this. We'll as we go forward, if we especially when we get to like Psalms, there's
Hmm.
some that get like taken from other cultures stuff, but it kind of twists them around because they all have pantheons. But basically, it reframes the pantheons like these guys are all subservient to the Most High God, right? And they're sitting in His throne room. They're advising Him, and there's a place in like Kings or Samuel or something where there's a scene where he's talking to the angels, the host, and he's asking them for ideas. And you would assume if any of them had a bad idea that he would have said so. But he's like, I think it's with I believe it's with King Ahab. He's like, I need a way to deal with Ahab. And one of the angels comes up with a suggestion and he says, like, yeah, okay, go do that. And so the image you're supposed to get is of a king's court.
You know,
And in the New Testament you see like there's more actually, because Saint John goes into into the courtroom of the Lord as well.
mhm.
And but when he goes, there's like some more creatures there, the saints. They're sitting there, and the 24 elders are there. But in the Old Testament, it's all just mostly hosts, and whoever's going up to check it out, um, like Daniel or somebody.
You know what blows my mind though, thinking about it is so let's say you're looking at the human mind as
Mhm.
neurologists currently understand it. You know, you have a pituitary gland, you have frontal cortex, you have different parts of the brain like the amygdala. They do different things. You have a corpus callosum, which connects the two halves of the brain, and everything has its place. And it's almost as if your own mind has a pantheon of different personalities that are regulating itself, different aspects which are creating hormones and whatnot. Uh, and then you look at an entity like God talking with himself in multiple different aspects. You know, you look at, for example, Jesus is God, Holy Spirit is God, you have the Father, God. What do they serve? Different purposes. And then you think of God having created creatures, a pantheon of, you know, familiars, so to speak, in which he's discussing what do we do next. It almost seems as if it is typical. It's well, we're created in his image. Our mind is as if we were God, in the way that he does his own work. It seems, and it's
Well,
an
if that
odd.
were the case, then it would be a lot less bad for man to be alone. I don't think that this is the way in which we're supposed to be representing God.
Oh, we're
It
fallen.
God
No.
delights in family, God delights in communion. That was what I was kind of getting at.
I
But
see. I see.
I see what you're kind of going for here. Like there's like a this
There's an odd parallel
there
going
there's a
on.
lot of aspects of us in our creative brains where we're able to kind of put on different hats and serve different functions. Or
Well,
are you talking about in the way that you have like a lot of voices in your head because you're obviously a schizo, right?
oh, maybe.
You
I mean,
got
could be.
what is it, multiple personality
No,
disorder? Or
because think of it this way: even within your own personality, there's different parts of yourself, and so
Mm.
God is able to create these. Really though, it's not just a simulacrum, so to speak. Whereas a typical human
Well,
mind has different parts of itself, God creates different parts to associate with, which is probably why I expect we exist, is because it's better to exist with more people and more entities than it is to exist alone in a bottle. God would not benefit from being a brain in a bottle, so to speak. Um, but
yeah, he delights in more. I want to be really clear about this, that
yeah.
the Holy Trinity, the persons of the Holy Trinity are all three uncreated. Okay, so God didn't create two more of himself, right? Like
Hmm.
that is very much Arianism or various forms of heresy that have been rejected by most historical Christianities. Like he didn't create, there wasn't a time when Christ was not,
Hmm. I guess I
let's
didn't
say.
consider that. Uh,
Yeah. I wanted to make sure that that wasn't part of what was getting gotten at here.
No, no, I personally wasn't, but it's good that you addressed it because it's nothing I'd considered before, which is part of the reason of a Bible study is to turn over unturned stones. Um, so so
Yeah.
real quick, we're gonna digress quite a bit here. Um, what is the basis of these things not having been created? Just what we've seen so far, or so God,
The basis of
the,
what?
the the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. What is the basis of these not having one not having created the others? What's the basis of this of all three instantiations of God having been uh, existent at the same moment, the moment of
Oh,
inception, forever and ever?
uh, yeah. Well, I mean, this is what we believe about God. These are certain things that he has revealed about himself. I think a lot of the stuff that we get about the Holy Spirit being one of the hypostases of the Godhead is gotten at through the same means as we kind of went into Christology and sort of figured out, like like where God the Son has been in the Old Testament, because it's not very, it's sort of dimly gotten at in the Old Testament in a way that it's a lot more direct in the New Testament, where the Son of God is, because
Hmm.
the New Testament primarily deals in the incarnation and the revealing of that plan of salvation in those
Hmm.
terms.
Hmm.
Um, the basis for them being uncreated is just that they are God. Like they're this is something that the church is just well, I don't know the exhaustive details how the early church fathers kind of arrived at like say when Arius shows up and starts teaching that um God the Son is a created being rather than fully God and uncreated and exists um like eternally with the it is because like he's one nature, or sorry,
Hmm.
he's one essence of the with the Father. He and the Father are one. They're two different
Hmm.
persons. They're two different hypostases. They're the same God, right?
Hmm.
And this is true of the Holy Spirit as well. Um, this is just part of the. It's very. I don't. I know you're asking like what Bible verses, but I don't have them pulled up. So
No, no, that's fine. That's fine.
yeah,
It's fine. I really am asking a difficult question. I know I am, and I might as well make a note about it at some point because
yeah.
you know, like why why do we know all three of the parts of God were at the same time? Why? Why, Gino? Why? It's it's an almost impossible question on the fly, unless you were like
Well,
prepared for that
yeah.
question. Uh,
Well, I mean, it's just kind of stated outright. Like there's the basis is ultimately like, okay, John, Saint John, one of his disciples says, he starts his gospel off with, in the beginning, as in this same beginning in Genesis here, was the word, by which he means the word he uses is logos. He's talking about the word of
mhm,
the Lord in the Old Testament, which is identifying with Christ. The word was
mhm,
with God and the word was God, right? So he's smashing them together. He's kind of getting at this like pretty bluntly there. In by him all things were made, and nothing without him nothing was made that was made. That whole way that the Gospel of John starts is like a lot of like the foundation for that
mm.
idea. But I mean, that's not the only place where Christ comes out and says, "Say, I and the Father are one," right? And
Uh,
John just kind of says it explicitly.
so you could probably imagine that this is revealed in some part too, the Trinity. Uh, it's not like God's just
Yeah,
coming
the
up saying,
word Trinity
"I'm the
doesn't show up
Trinity,
until the
bro."
yeah.
He's
The
like,
word Trinity isn't in the Bible. It's a word coined later to describe this, to kind
yeah.
of put a name on what wasn't like given a name in so many words.
Well, I will be
But
content with finding this to be a revealed trait. Um,
okay,
but let's, if you don't mind, I'll read a little bit further on.
sure.
Um, then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on earth." God created man
Okay,
in his own image, creeps on this earth. You said, okay.
creeps on the
You
surf.
have
Yep. Okay. Okay. So we are supposed to multiply and fill the earth. I think it's worth also pointing out here, God the Son, um,
loves creeping on this earth.
God the Son was fully man and fully,
Hmm.
and not just fully God from the
Hmm.
beginning, right? So, um, that part of this is based after this like this whole tradition where the part of God that we're actually made in the image and likeness of is
Hmm.
God the Son, is Christ. Like this does get like portrayed this way in like old icons and stuff
So
where
God
this
the
is
Christ
happening.
is creeping
So
on this earth.
yeah,
Oh,
but that would imply that the human nature, something about human nature, is not something that God the Son takes on in the incarnation, but there's something else about it which he already is, right?
mm.
So, um, I know I realize this is speculative, but it is a common view. I didn't make it up. I just am persuaded by it. Um, so the idea here though is that we're designed after the pattern of God, and that is special because the rest of the living creatures are patterned after their own kind, but we're patterned after God Himself, right? So, moving along. And the understanding that this is a delegated authority as well. We are sort of being a priesthood to all of creation already by
Mm.
being designated this image. So it'd be like, if you're a disciple of somebody, there would get to a point where where your master would then send you out when you were ready, and to do his work in his name, and he would say like, you will be as me to them,
Well,
right?
this
Like
to
God
me,
sends Moses to the Pharaoh, you are as God to the Pharaoh.
this to
Or
me almost is like,
and this disciple doing good work would reflect good on the master, because that disciple is doing it in his name, right? So if they do good work, it reflects well on him as a teacher as well, right?
I have an analogy which would make more
Yeah.
sense to myself, which would be,
Okay.
um, I'm a captain, so
Mhm.
I make somebody or I train somebody to go be a captain, and I say, go drive that boat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So in this case, it would be Jesus, being part of God, um, would help create man in His image, and say, go forth and do the things that I would do.
Hmm.
Go be my
Right.
go be my go be my captains, so to
Yeah.
speak.
So we are acting as God to the rest of creation.
Gosh damn. Which by the way, um, I have a phrase. I don't remember what it. Oh, I think it's from a movie called The Road. It's like a post-apocalyptic movie, and I heard something along the lines of, um, if you are not if you are not the word of God on your child's lips, then nobody ever was. It's like, oh man, basically saying like, because it's post-apocalyptic, so if nobody ever teaches your children the word of God, then nobody ever will, right? But in this
Yeah.
case, it's almost as if everybody who bears the image of Christ, it's like they're the torchbearer of the image of Christ, um,
Yeah.
and the word
Well, we're
thereof.
representatives, right? That's what it's a mediator. It's a what do you call it? An intercessor or a mediator,
Hmm.
right? You go and do the work of God, and you represent God to creation, and then you represent creation back to God,
Hmm.
right? So a
Ah,
priest would represent, he would do God's work to the for the people on behalf of God, and then that priest would also then turn around and then make a sacrifice on behalf of the rest of the people back to God. So this is already sort of being set up here in terms that the ancient Israelites would have understood, but
so
for all
so
of creation in the person of Adam.
in the person of Adam. Okay. So moving on a little bit here.
Yeah.
Uh, God
So have
created
dominion
man.
over the fish of the sea.
God created
Oh,
man.
dominion.
Huh? Well, we're not quite there yet. We're still on
Yeah.
27.
Oh, we're not on.
Nope, nope.
What?
God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them.
No, you're.
God, bl-
We're actually you skip past the and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the
no,
birds of the
well,
heavens.
I'm seeing right here, 26. Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea and over
Yeah,
the
one
birds
verse
of the
back.
sky. Okay, 25. God made the beasts of the earth after their kind, and the cattle after their
What?
kind.
Is yours
I
really
guess
so different?
I guess so. I guess we're missing the Dominion because uh, I remember seeing recently a subdue and Dominion, and basically,
Creeps the earth. Let them have dominion and over the birds of the heavens, livestock, and over all the earth, and over everything that creeps the earth.
oh, well, I'm glad that you have yours too because go figure, we can glean a little bit more out of it. So, what do you read off of that? The
Okay.
Dominion. The
Where?
Dominion.
What does yours say there?
It basically just ends at creeps on the earth.
What does it say before the creeps the earth, though?
Then God said, let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth.
Okay, so yours says rule over instead of have dominion over.
Yeah, yeah, which is different. Rule over and have
A little
dominion
bit.
over. To me, dominion seems like it's more powerful, don't you think?
Well, maybe
I
not
mean,
because okay, so dominion. So the English
that
word
means you can
dominion.
basically do whatever.
Yeah, that dom in dominion at its root is the same as in the word kingdom. The dom in kingdom is dominion. And another form
Interesting.
of dom in old timey English is doom, as in doomsday, right?
Yeah.
or deem, as in judge. So
Judge
doomsday, also
Minion.
judgment day, yeah. But in this case, judgment isn't like, because we tend to use the word judge in modern English and especially in America, to be like this negative, like condemn.
I've
But
started using the
judge
word discern. Discern.
and discern, yeah, judge is actually is rule here in the Bible.
Hmm.
And rule in the Bible is like almost like a ruler, like a straight edge, right? So judge and judgment is related to the word justice, which is
To make
related to
right.
the word justify, which I may have mentioned is about things being rightly ordered. So judge means put things in right order. And discernment has to do about that too. Like you gauge whether or not something is in order, but when you're judging it, you're actually kind of putting it in order if it's
Okay.
not. So it's more than
Okay.
just discern. It's actually putting things in order, right? Like we're putting the earth in order and we're filling it with life. This
Okay.
is that same language, right? So have dominion over the beasts is about
Putting them in right order.
it's about naming the animals what they are and deciding what they are and understanding them and putting them in right order, right?
Okay.
This is
Okay.
organizational terms. Yeah, yeah.
So by having
So
by
all of
having
these terms,
dominion
judge,
over the creeping
justice,
things,
rule,
the
yeah.
cattle, the everything, put them in right order, tell them what they are. You tell them what they
Yeah.
are, dude, or somebody else
Don't
will.
no you have to, okay, don't send a creeping thing to do a cattle's job, right?
Wait,
You
wait,
can't just name.
are you telling me I can't tell a cow to climb a tree? Frickin' flip off, dude.
Are you one of those guys that milks almonds? Riddle me this, Chris.
Dude, I would love to milk an almond if it was freaking possible. Uh,
If you're milking an almond, are you allowed to boil an almond in its mother's milk?
hey, I know plenty of lint liquors, okay? Uh, so,
Can you,
so moving on to 27. Um, 26. No, 27. God created man in his own
God created
image.
man.
In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Why does he double that phrase? He created them. Is that just like a doubling of the Torah, or is that like a thing that matters?
Sometimes they double it because it matters, but it's called a what is it called, a repetition of emphasis.
Okay, so
But
it's one of those Jew things. Okay.
well,
Uh,
he doesn't actually repeat it exactly. He says God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. And then it says male and female, he created them.
oh,
So it kind of
oh.
says it three times, but the third time is slightly different. Um,
Now I would wonder here in this case if we were looking at this in the Hebrew in which it was written, uh, would what would it look like as far as the writing? Because I understand sometimes the writing matters. Like
maybe.
the way that things are specifically written, would it actually matter?
Um,
Because doesn't that matter sometimes in Hebrew, the way it's actually written?
so my ESV here puts this one verse in poetry where the rest is in prose. So this might actually be a song, like a cantilated part. Like if you were
Like a song.
reading this out loud, this would be the part where this would
Oh,
suddenly be
this
breaking
is
out
a
in
good
song a
Bible
little bit.
study already.
I'm not having enough Wi-Fi to load the interlinear right now. Oh, here we go. Um, bar created. Adam. Um, Salem is the only word we get for in his image. Does it say that twice? No. Yes. Maybe. That's odd. Hold on. Let me look at that real closely. Where is the Selim? I can't read Hebrew well enough. um, it looks like no. It says it only the once. So, in his own image, in the image, Elohim, bara. Yeah, it looks like it kind of says it twice, but once is reversed. Et
Hmm.
Kasar. Oh, sorry, Zakar is male,
You know what? I'll call my
and
grandma
then
later and I'll ask her because I'm sure
Nekeba.
she's
I'm probably butchering the pronunciations here, but Bara, he created them et, and et is also him,
mm,
and I don't see any particular difference other than one of these ets is related back to both male and female, while the previous et is related to the Adam, which he created in his own image. So
them,
that
the
is the
male and
reason why one
female
of them is
them.
the yeah. So the
Okay.
yeah, because grammar matters. But
I'll ask my grandma why that might have been reiterated. I'm sure she's been studying this for decades now. So if anyone wants to know,
maybe yeah.
if
My
if
guess is
anyone
because
wants,
it's a song.
if anyone here on the live stream wants to know the significance of my grandmother, it's immense and understated, and probably not much mentioned during this. So might as well just continue on to 28. Thank you, by the way, Gino,
Well,
for that.
God created man in general. He included females specifically, and I don't want to underplay that because this would have been really
Because
weird in the
Mother's
ancient
Day,
Near East. Yeah, 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 yeah. Shout out to the females. Well, because
ladies.
it seems so obvious now, but back then, like, not every culture saw women as people in their own right, and Israel had a little bit of a rough day, especially in Moses's day, when everybody was first coalescing into one nation.
Mhm.
Um, like this might have not have been terribly like easy to get going.
You mean talking about women as people?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Women had a
get
rough
it.
time in the ancient Near East. They
Yeah,
were
yeah.
a lot of times they were property. I mean, by the time you get to like Christ's day in like Greece and Rome, they were doing like slightly better, but you still had like like if you read some of those like Aristotle's and Plato's, I can't remember who exactly it was said it, but it was like, and these are still pagans. They got a little bit better with the way that they treated women, but it was still like uh, they were like one of them would say like women tried to be men in the womb, but they failed, and to be men instead.
Dang,
Yeah, and this was the
that's
culture where like
harsh.
they didn't. There was another philosopher that didn't believe that true love with a woman was possible, and he erred on the side of like young men instead.
Oh,
Like that was the truer romantic love.
oh my,
Yeah. They got a little bit better, but
That's pretty bad though. I mean, a little bit better from
yeah,
horrible isn't very good.
yeah. Back in these days, even in Israel, they were still at least property mostly. So a lot of what ends up getting taught in the Torah by Moses here is like mitigating against this reality of just like survivability of men, but also survivability of women in these contexts.
Are
Like,
you
so
saying that?
that,
Are you saying that a lot of the Bible is, hey guys, women are people too?
yes,
I
there's
like that.
a, like, yeah, because one of the biggest failures of Adam gets revisited over and over and over again, and in the rest of the Bible story, and a lot of the lessons are like, hey, look, you need to take care of your women. You need to take care of your women over and over and over. Your responsibility is to take care of your women.
So something that was mentioned to me today, while in church, we actually went through Genesis today in church, and so the man being the leader, right? Men and women play different roles, and the idea, which we'll get to here shortly, I'm sure, within the next 12 hours, um, is that Eve she accepted the apple, right? She accepted the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, whatever that was, whether it be an apple or whatnot. But that Adam, that was his job, is to say, no, don't do that. We were told,
You know,
don't eat that.
we're gonna get there pretty quick. Can I shut my
Yeah.
car off?
Let's see. You are at 60 minutes. Try it. Shut it off and try to start it up. Does it start back up?
Ah, it started back up.
All right.
You think I'm okay?
I think you're good, man. Did it start right up?
Okay. Started right up.
All right, you're good. Shut off. Shut all of your
Nice.
peripherals off.
Okay. I
Hey, high
just
five,
wasn't
dude.
keeping track of the time. Yeah. Woo.
No, no, I was
Okay.
looking. I was looking. It was
Okay.
actually 60 minutes, almost on the dot, dude. So,
Nice.
uh, so let's finish
It's
this
pretty
up
good
real
for
quick.
I have ADHD and no internal clock. So, all right. So
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So
So I,
God.
I would like to get down to 31 here, and then I would like to see if we can maybe spin this off into a second round where we can have some better lighting. All right, you
Um.
okay with that?
Well, I think let's try and get as far as we can before midnight here.
Oh, midnight there.
So
Okay,
what
so
is
in the next
next?
45 minutes. Okay, so
Yeah.
in that case, okay, God created man in his own image. Okay, male and female, he created them. God blessed them, and
Okay.
God said to them, be fruitful and multiply. Now saying this to Adam and Eve, well, the man and woman, um, and fill the
Hmm.
earth and subdue it, and
Subduction.
rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the sky, and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Now, this subdue it, to me, this seems like less of a destroy the heck out of it, and rather more of a order it. Be humans. Tell those things what they are. Am I missing something, or is that about right?
Uh. Yeah. I think just subdue, like put it in order. Yeah. Um. Because you do have to actually domesticate things. Um.
Mhm,
Yeah, I think so. Well, okay. So God blessed them.
mhm,
I do want to touch on this too.
yeah.
Because I don't have a lot of notes on subduction. I'm pretty sure that's just gonna end up being you know what? Hold on, I'll look for you.
To me,
Subduction.
subdue means like you in English. It means do with them what you will and do it. Um, and by the way, I noticed this guy, Felix, Felix Rio. God bless ya, reverends. We're not reverends, but by golly, I will try my
No,
best to throw my phone on the floor and make it so.
as a reverend. You.
As a reverend might do.
I mean, if you don't throw your phone on the floor, are you even a reverend?
Yeah, no, no, because phones aren't even important. So just like throw it on the floor, man. Like God's what's important. So whatever. Uh,
No.
we're not reverends, but we're trying. We're studying this biblically.
Okay, so subdue kabas is the word here in Hebrew. What does that mean?
What does kabas mean? Subdue.
Well, yeah, that's what the NASB has and the ESV. I'm gonna look at the if my internet's gonna go really slow out here in the car, but
Giggity.
it'll go. In the
Giggity.
meantime, though, blessed, the concept of blessed here, I wanted to touch on
Yeah.
because it's not magic. I think a lot of people get this idea from that God
God
blesses
blessed
and it's
them.
magic. Yeah, so
To me,
it's
that almost seems like giving them an okay.
yes, you have it. It's a connotative of approval, right? Because you think
So
of blessing as the opposite of cursing, and that's correct also, but neither of them are
God
magic spells.
God approved of what they were doing and said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it." So he's
Well,
saying like,
it can
what
be
you're
well.
doing's
Think more
okay.
like like if you bless somebody for a like you give them your blessing for an approved work, right? So like
Okay.
you have my blessing to marry my daughter would be
Mm.
an example of this kind of blessing.
My
So
children have
you're
my
not
blessing
working
to leave my
against your
home.
father-in-law by marrying her, right? That would be
Right.
much harder if you were working against his approval,
So they're
right?
going in good
But
time,
this is yeah, this is God blessing them to go forward and multiply and subdue the earth, which
which is right.
did not load. So I cannot tell you what subdue means in
Hold on.
Hebrew.
Now
Sorry.
now what
We'll
should
go
I
with your thing though, because that sounds right.
I wish I had a different phone with me right now because I was looking around for my phone. Go figure, I'm on the phone right now talking with you. But
Yep.
so I can't look it up either. But let's put a note in this. Subdue. Okay. So
I
let me
mean, the big
continue
idea
on.
so far has been like justice and rule and put things in order and fill it with life, right? So subdue, when we're thinking of like conquest language, a lot of this is still like in a pre-fallen world, a lot of this still is being given to us in the form of gardening, right? So how do you subdue a garden? You
You take out the weeds and you make everything be in the proper lines, and you take anything that's not in the proper line out, and
exactly.
you order everything. You're
Yep.
subduing it. So I could look at this, and whether or not I knew what the word subdue was supposed to mean, I should, with proper reflection, be able to figure it out. Uh,
Yeah.
just like this way, you will know the fruits of their labors. You might not know what they're doing, but gosh darn it, you're gonna see the result of it. So in this
Right,
case, the
right.
result of subduction would be it's probably gonna be good.
If
So
everything's
order.
justified, meaning put in right order, then it's probably subdued.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Willingly or unwillingly.
yeah.
Because in some ways, and in fact, that might be what the meaning of the word subdue would mean, willingly or unwillingly. Because some things you can just order and it'll do it.
Mhm.
You can tell a jackass, a donkey, to go somewhere and it just will.
Now,
But
I
then,
want to
but then if
stop. Oh,
you're
yeah, I do want to point out that this is before the fall, and hypothetically speaking, there really isn't going to be that much pushback and labor from this process at this point. Remember,
gosh darn, you're right.
God is telling everybody to fill the earth and multiply after its own kind at this
So
point, with no
God's
concept of
basically
death.
saying go out and do the easy job that you have to do because it's your
Yeah,
duty. God,
yeah,
how
yeah.
boring.
He's got man down there directing traffic, while everybody, including man, is filling the earth
Listens
exponentially with life and multiplying and not dying. Nobody
and
dies yet.
listening.
And there's
There's
no
no
point
chaos.
where he's like, fill the earth with life exponentially until the earth is full and then stop. There's none of that. Which means
No,
there
no.
must have been something else that he had in mind to kind of allow us to keep going.
It's almost like the fall was necessary, which sounds silly, but also I don't know. I don't know.
It
That's
doesn't
just
say
my
that. Yeah. I I
that's my
I really do think that there was some, and I think that he's still trying to get at that too, where there's like, no, the pie is supposed to get bigger. Supposed to slow down and stop. You're supposed to multiply exponentially forever and count on me to supply what that is going to look like when things start to get full. There's a big universe out there, Chris.
Are you talking about Mars, bro?
I am
Are
talking
you
about
saying
Mars,
are,
bro. But
are you
I
saying
mean,
we could
maybe
have been
not.
on
Maybe
Mars?
he just keeps blowing
Maybe
the Earth up bigger and bigger. I don't know.
maybe the fall ruined Mars and Jupiter for us. We could have had Mars and Jupiter, bro, and Venus. Gosh.
Thanks, Adam.
God, thanks, Eve. Well, actually, if I'm looking at it from the man's perspective, talking about men being leaders, yeah, thanks, Adam. Friggin' his fault.
Yeah.
Uh, technically.
Thanks to
Uh,
Cain, we're not able to colonize Mars.
gosh.
Ugh.
So, anywho,
What a Cain in the
God
butt.
bless. I had never
It's
thought
getting
of.
late for me.
You got me, bro. Okay, God
Continue.
blessed them, have subdue it. Okay, then God said, "Behold," 29. God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has the fruit yielding the seed, bro. Uh, it shall be food for you, and to every beast of the earth, and to every bird of the sky, and to everything that moves on the earth, which has life, I have given every green plant for food. And it was so.
Ah,
Which,
so everybody's a vegetarian, not even just the men.
just all vegetarians, like everyone's eating plants, dude. Which blew
Okay,
my
so
mind
before
when you said it.
understanding food,
So you're saying that we're supposed to be in Genesis, we're supposed to all be vegetarians? None of this freaking no Angus beef? Like, what is the reason for cattle if we can't eat meat?
I,
You don't know, because it's it's Genesis. Uh,
I am a fallen man and I like eating beef. But look,
this didn't happen until Genesis
okay,
11, and you don't want to
so before,
spoil it yet.
yeah, before understanding food, I feel like we should probably understand what a body is. So, so we're not
A
just like a
body,
meat
a
suit with a
body's
ghost driving
meat.
it around.
A body's
We're
made
not
of meat, and it's
we're not a
good
soul
and it
driving a body.
tastes
We're not driving around a meat suit. All right, we're not a mech.
God
Um,
darn it.
yeah. So we have like potentialities, right? We have eyes, hands,
I used to
feet,
play bass for a
which
band
give
called I
us
Am a Meat Suit.
which give us potential agency in the physical world.
Mhm.
I heard you. Um, and these grant us the potential to act in motion over time and create change, right? So
Mhm.
because we have eyes, we have the potential for sight. Because I have hands, I have the potential for acting on the world. Um,
Mhm.
and this multiplicity of potentialities are unified into one body. That is what a body. That's what a unified body is, right? I'm made out
Mhm.
of a multiplicity of parts, but it's unified under one cohesive whole,
Yeah.
right? I am one thing, and I recognize myself as one thing. Right. And so to manifest a spiritual principle or pattern in physical creation is for that principality to become embodied. That's the word embodied. So our physical body uses energy, which is replenished by food. Food is a body of potential energy, which we put into our body to become a part of our body. It is absorbed, and our body is added to. We are given more body. So God apparently designed plant life in particular to provide this embodied energy potential for us. This is more true even than expressed here, as it is plants that replenish even our air supply. Like most of the oxygen that we get is either, if not from trees, it's going to end up being like from these like I forget what they're called. It starts with a P. It's these like plant lives, these organisms that live in the
Photosynthetic,
ocean. The ocean guy. No,
organisms,
not photosynthesis. The
plankton.
it's a type. Yeah, it's a type of organism that lives in the oceans. So a lot of like these ocean creatures generate most of our oxygen, but it's still plant life.
Phytoplankton.
Yeah,
Or
yeah, phytoplankton.
what?
Thank you.
There you go.
That is the word I was looking for.
Ah, sweet.
Phytoplankton. It's most of our oxygen comes from phytoplankton. Yay!
Frick yeah, we made it.
Teamwork.
Uh,
Yeah.
so basically, the idea is that at this point, when everything's green, we should be getting everything that a human body needs from plant life. They don't run. You just pick them off the ground.
Mhm.
It's good. Uh,
Yeah, you can tell that okay. So plants have certain characteristics of life in that they multiply and they grow, but they are uniquely dependent on us to become ordered as a part of the landscape and readily produce food for us to consume without any death involved. Even if you count plant death as real death, right? Because eating fruit doesn't kill the plant,
oh yeah.
right? So
Oh
so
yeah.
you
Fair
can
enough.
you can tell you can eat it because it bears a characteristic of life, right? So we're putting life stuff into our body to make our body
Yeah.
more
Now
lifelike
that's an
in a way that
interesting
we can't eat
concept.
rocks. Rocks are dead. Yeah.
Well, no, it's an interesting concept because plants, they have some form of a life. Yet at this point in the Bible, before we've reached the fall, the plants produce fruit, which we can eat. Now, the fruit
Hmm.
is typically used to create more life, but just because, so we're ordering the plants, we're
Well, we don't
cultivating
eat the
them,
seeds.
but 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 we're able to eat the fruits that we've now ordered the plants, and so we're actually helping the plants in some way continue to grow and prosper. Yet we just take a
Yeah.
little bit of that food, a little bit of that fruit, as if it were a sacrifice, as if it were a tribute to the help that we're giving, so to speak. And with that,
Yes.
we can continue to subsist. So we're not
Hmm.
killing anything, which is nuts. That like blows my mind because to me, in my
No
mind,
death.
as a human, I kill lots of stuff on purpose just to live. like I eat, so I don't just eat, chicken babies, which is eggs. I actively kill things in order to survive. I kill cows and I kill deer and I kill whatever the heck it is. But at
I've
this point,
killed
that doesn't
so
exist.
many ants just during this podcast, just because they're starting to crawl on me.
Ants are crawling on you in your car.
Yeah, I got some ants in this car. I
That's a
need to figure that
problem,
out.
bro. Yeah, you got to figure that out. So diatomaceous earth will do it. By the way, using dead things to kill living things. Uh, if you want to look at what diatoms are, uh, diatoms, diatomaceous earth, small silicate bodies, think of like a crab, right? And then the crab sloughs off its exoskeleton. But think of that on a microscopic scale. Instead of an exoskeleton, it's a silicate exoskeleton. That's basically what diatomaceous earth is. Um, so you're dealing with old fossilized silica exoskeletons that you just sprinkle all around your car, and it's a tiny little powder. Looks like talcum
Mm.
powder, and it'll kill the heck out of all of those immediately. Yeah.
Okay,
So
so that's a little bit like that time that Samson killed a bunch of Philistines with the jawbone of an ass. Yeah,
kind of like that, but different. We'll get into that later, I'm
using
sure.
using a dead thing to kill, or like how God gives the what is it, the garments of flesh to Adam and Eve.
So I believe we just finished number 30
Okay.
out of 31.
Woo. All
I'm
right.
being a
Yep.
butthead.
Yep. Okay.
God saw all that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning, the sixth day. We got to the end of the fifth day. I think we got to the end of the sixth day, right? Is that it? That was the end of the sixth
Yeah.
day.
This is it. This is the last day of creation week. Day 6. Good. Even number. Yep. Balance between 3 days of context and 3 days of content. Order is established and filled with life and life abundantly.
Thus the
Good.
heavens and the earth were completed and all their hosts. By the seventh day, God completed his work
Host. There's the angels.
and all their hosts. Oh, angels! We got angels now. Talked about in the Bible. Mark it by First Genesis 32.
Done.
Well, 2 and 1 done. Okay, 2 and 1 done. By the seventh day, God he completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done, which is a reiteration the fact that he had done it. Nobody else, just him. God did that. So then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. Which, by the way, is where we get the Sabbath. Thank goodness we get to rest 1 day out of the week at least. This is the account of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that the Lord God made earth and heaven. Now
Okay.
notice, Rob.
Hang on.
Ooh, tell me.
All right. So, traditionally, rest doesn't mean that he was like really tired after a week's worth of work, like creating, like, oh gosh, I'm so exhausted, and then he like stops and takes a nap. Like, like God doesn't get burnout. This rest is sit, and sit means on a throne, as in preside. So he's
As in,
created the
as in,
universe,
he wondered over his things, maybe. Not wondered, but rather, I
finished his work. sits enthroned over
Okay,
it.
so he just sort of like is chilling there, looking at what he did. Is that right?
Well, he's stopped creating. He's got everything kind of going, and now he's sitting enthroned and presiding over it, and he's judging it. He's okay.
Well,
So that
tell me what you think.
this is just like the pattern. Like not everything that a king does is always creating. It's gonna be in charge. I'm sitting. Sitting means like if a king is sitting in his judgment throne,
Hmm. Hmm.
he's presiding. He's like when you preside, you're overseeing. It's
Hmm.
oversight.
Oh, so he was
Yeah. So that's what sit is. It's
okay.
yeah.
So
Go
he was
ahead.
just resting, as in, yeah, not creating, just sitting there. Of course, as you would say,
Well, not just sitting there. That's the important part. He's
ruling.
yeah.
Okay.
He's ruling.
Gosh, what did he have to do as a ruler, though? Okay, now that brings a whole bunch of stuff to mind. So, uh, I know we'll get into this later. I know that we'll talk about more of this later. But knowing what I know about the Sabbath, the
Well,
if we were to look at the
remember, this is subduction, right? Like this is conquest language. He's just put the earth in order, and when you conquer a world, you sit enthroned over it. Right now, he's just put creation in order, and now he's sitting enthroned over his conquest.
well, this I want to ask a different question to lengthen
Okay,
out our dang podcast or whatever this is.
it's not
Uh,
long enough.
it's not long enough, man. We got to
It
make it
only took
longer.
us.
It only took us
Yeah. Okay. Like I mean, there's
61 minutes.
we're on
61
day
minutes.
7, but you and I have only spent 2 days on this. It seems like wrong, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's nuts.
We
So
need to go through 1 day per day
we should, yeah, yeah.
because these
Let's
are
stretch
literal
this out
days.
a bit, man. So so no. So I'm thinking about, okay. My grandmother considers herself to be Messianic Jew, so believing in Christ Jew, and so
Mhm.
she looks at the Sabbath day as a day which she is not supposed to do any work. Okay. Now, this
Right.
new definition, though, of presiding over, resting, as in,
Uh-huh.
ruling over, that is a different connotation than
Yeah.
doing nothing.
I see where this is going, but the Torah does in fact instruct the people when they're keeping the Sabbath to not do any work.
But what
They're
does
very
that
specific
mean,
about
though?
that.
Like we even had Jesus
What?
say, like,
Okay.
hey, if you have a cow fall in a ditch, you're gonna get it out, right? Like, don't
Yeah, because the
try to look
Pharisees were
for
missing the
work.
point.
Like, don't try to look for work, but also, like, you know,
Okay. So I think part of the difficulty here is because we're living in a very sort of lavish landscape as modern Americans, where we think of like a day of rest as like, oh, how nice of God to get the day off, right?
mm,
So this is almost the opposite in a nomadic slash agrarian civilization that would have been receiving this for the first time, right? So
okay.
now remember, because we're not just talking about like a Sabbath day, we're talking about the Israelites were given a Sabbath year where they couldn't do anything for the whole year.
What?
And yeah, a whole Sabbath year, and also what's called a jubilee, which is like
On the nose.
yeah, it's like a period of time when like all debts are now they didn't actually do any of that, but that was what was commanded. So so okay, so now what this actually is an act of faith, right, in God's providence. This is that same thing that he's been trying to hammer in here, where like instead of doing it on our we have this illusion where we're doing it all on our own, but we're supposed to be relying on God because God's actually the one sustaining us, right? So in order if they don't do well on their crops, they might watch one of their children die in front of them.
Mm,
If if God does, yeah, like there's a tremendous like, okay, if I do not do any work on this one day, like the temptation is really there to go work on that day because like I feel like my livelihood is completely reliant on me doing this work on this day.
Well, and
That's what God's trying to break them of, and especially a year of that. Holy cow!
well, I can't even
um,
imagine. I can't even imagine like in my modern way. So I drive a boat for at least
mhm,
28 days out of every month. I drive a boat 7 days a week. If
mhm,
I do not work on that seventh day, somebody takes my job because I can't work
right.
that seventh day. So like, and that might be the force of some employer that's not in accordance with, I chose the job. Some employer didn't, doesn't do that thing. But the reality is, it's kind of an industry standard, right? For my profession, that is what is required of me. Is for some period of time, I work 7 days a week, every week, for
Mm,
some period of time. And goodness gracious, man, would it be nice to have a Sabbath? Oh, yeah. I'd love to do nothing. But also in this world, I don't know, just the world in general, even if it wasn't this world, it just seems almost unattainable. What the heck is going on here?
yeah, yeah. And it was unattainable in Israel too. They'd never kept this.
What do you mean they never kept this? Like
They
in
they
the
might have
Bible?
kept the Sabbath day, but they never kept a Sabbath year. They never kept a They never, as far as I know, they didn't do a single jubilee. Um,
Shoot. Okay,
but they
okay.
were commanded to, but they didn't. They just didn't do it. And in fact, I think they went into exile because they didn't do any of these Sabbath years. So,
Wow,
yeah, because
that's damning.
that's yeah. I mean, it's relevant because we still have to like do things like when in the New Testament we're commanded to do tithes, for example. That'd be like kind of the modern equivalent of this act of faith. We're
Oh,
tithing, like an amount that could potentially hurt us if we didn't trust in God, right? So we're still getting taught this lesson. And honestly, the idea that we're supposed to get this Sabbath, if we're unable to, like this is one of those things where like we're not really in charge of that.
hmm.
Uh, this is one of those things where God kind of holds the leaders accountable for what they do with their dominion and their responsibilities. If
Hmm.
so I wouldn't, in our own way, like we should be doing this in so much as we have the capability. But we're in a totalitarian democracy in the United States where we have like to keep like really, really precise track of our time and clock in and clock out and yeah, we're enslaved to this whole situation. So um this isn't really our call. um we're supposed to
Huh.
be good stewards of our jobs and work for them as though they were Christ, and then God will
Sort out the
deal with
rest,
that
I guess.
however he will, and we're not. But Christ was right. The Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Right. So it's not like, don't worry about
Well,
this.
you
Okay.
know that
Like, don't let it stress you
the
out.
cool thing about having Christ having died for our sins is that if I look at it and I go, ah, okay, well, I'm being asked to do X, Y, Z, but also it's wrong. The most I could say, the least I could say is, well, that's on their heads, not mine, right? It,
Yeah, well, I mean, you have to be sure, right? Like, if you're going to be disobedient about something because, like, you think that you're being asked to do something wrong, like, you better be pretty sure. Because, like, if they ask you to do something that you think is wrong and you disobey, but they turn out to be right, then that's on your head. And if
well,
if
not
they ask you to do something that you think is wrong, but you do it anyway, like, okay, so the concept here is God only punishes the same sin once. He never punishes the same sin twice, right? So if your boss asks you to do something wrong but you're not quite sure and you do it, then you're not responsible for that, your boss is. But if you disobey your boss, then you better be right.
oh, I better be right. No
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah. Otherwise, the
So
cost is
it's
death.
it's it's
Uh,
almost better to just be obedient than to be um
oh, that sucks. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, you're right. Dang. Hey, stop stop crucifying me, Gito. Uh,
Oh,
God,
yikes.
stop, stop,
Okay, I'll stop.
stop condemning me.
I didn't mean to.
No, no, no. You're good. You're good. I'm just kidding.
I'm just
I'm
trying to
pretending.
apply principles here because
I'm
they're
pretending to
not
be a lot more maverick than I
laid
am.
out.
Uh, so, then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work, which God had created and made,
Hmm.
which, as you said, was presided over. This is the
Hmm.
account of the heavens and the earth when they were created.
These are the generations.
These are the generations
These are yeah. It's where Genesis gets its name.
of the
Usually, it's
heavens.
like these are the generations of Abraham or something. But this is basically noting that this is the next story that's being started.
In the day that the Lord God made earth and
Mhm.
heaven. Now, no shrub of the field was yet in the
Th-
earth. Now, this is nuts.
This is
N-
the start of a new story.
Oh, so five is the
Yeah.
start of a new story. Okay,
Yep.
cause
These are the
cause
generations of the heavens and the earth when they were created. That whole sentence there is the actual end of the story, even though you're probably
that's why you
partway into
said
chapter two.
that's why
Yeah.
you said that's why you said earlier in our
Hmm.
last that
Yep.
in our last episode that the way they ended these chapters was stupid.
Yep. I don't know why they put the chapter break there. It should probably be right here.
So,
But
okay.
whatever.
Now, real quick, just to
Hmm.
ask though. Now, no shrub of the field was yet in the earth, and no plant of the field had yet sprouted, for the Lord God had not sent rain upon the earth, and there was no man to cultivate the ground. So basically, man was already created. All the birds and sea creatures and sea serpents, the scary creatures, they were there, but they had no food.
Okay. If you're trying to jump into this story
I'm just
after this last story,
I'm just being a
and you're
butthead.
taking them both hyper literally, you're going to have a bad time.
Okay, fair enough.
Right. So
Tell
if
me,
you're trying to take it
how
like
how am I
this is
reading this
exactly
wrong?
the order in which God created the heavens and the earth, and he did it on 6 literal days, and he created, it in this order, this exact order, and
And
that
then
is
there's
how
no
we are
food.
reading this. And then you go right here, and then all of a sudden there's no more, like obviously it jumped back in time to before
These
there
are
was
some
man.
really hungry creatures on day 7, okay?
Yeah. Like it doesn't work because now you've got a different order and you got to it's getting at something different is ultimately what's happening.
Yeah,
They're
okay.
establishing a new setting. They're going to retell the creation of man in more detail now. That is what's about to happen.
So
Yeah.
basically what's going to happen here in chapter 2 is that yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
they're going to tell more things about create. This is basically an expanding and a flowering out of what has happened, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, you
But
know
I
what,
do
that
want to
sounds like to
mention
me.
because certain things are happening in a different order because it's getting at something different and the point is different that you can't take it hyper literally because obviously the creation is happening in a slightly different order here in this story for a very different reason.
You know what I'm good with then is that if we were to end our thing right here, this
Hmm.
almost seems like a great break point because we can
It
flower into
does.
something new. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah.
All right.
I yes, let's maybe what would a good take like I mean there have been a few takeaways here, right? So
Okay. Okay.
God delights in working through us and working in each other's lives through each other, right? As a team, he delights in a family. He delights in a community and a communion with each other. He delights when we are coming together, and he delights when we multiply life and don't die and don't kill each other, right? Those are
Well,
all
well,
good
because
things.
well, and where I'm getting that is that he started as himself in different instantiations, and that those instantiations were always present, and the reason for that is because more is better. Uh, just like your thinking body, the body of your brain, is better when it's better when it's together rather than apart. Uh,
Right.
you know, Noted by, if you were to cut your corpus callosum, you would not be quite the same person you are today. Although you
Yeah.
would be full, you wouldn't be whole. Um,
The concept is unity in multiplicity.
Unity and multiplicity. I like
Hmm.
that.
We're all working
Um,
together and we're all multiplying life because of it. Just like a marriage multiplies life, but it's in unity, it's cohesive.
Goodness gracious, you are on it.
Yeah.
That's why I love my. That's
Also,
exactly why I love my wife. Uh,
yeah, yeah, and also with God though, he's a part of this. He was never meant to be apart from this whole situation, right?
yeah,
So that's part of it, right? He's the dominion, he's the one whose providence is and why we can multiply, fearing that we're going to die if we overpopulate because he's in charge of that,
he has subdued the
right?
heck
And
out
we
of
need to be
us.
able to trust him on that. Yeah, because that is one of the things that we don't do very well is we don't trust in his providence very well.
Now, another thing we mentioned
We
here.
get it into our heads that we're relying on ourselves for our own sustenance,
Now,
right?
we mentioned
So,
subduction too, which is one of the attributes that we
mhm.
take from God in His image. Is that we're able to, let's say, for example, if we need to, we can cull a population of, let's say, there's too many sickly sheep. Well, we're able to, you know, subdue that. And that's part of the ordering process that God can also do even with us. I would imagine. That's, we didn't cover that specifically, but one of the things we did cover
Yeah,
was
or like I have to
subduction.
subdue my children sometimes when they're getting out of order, right? When things are getting out of order, we put it back in order. That's called justification.
Justification. Yeah, justifying, as if we were to justify left or
Yep.
justify right. We are
If my
ordering.
kid's going off in the wrong direction, it's judgment day.
Judgment minute. Judgment
You know?
second.
Right now my car has been acting out of order, so you have helped me justify my car and put it
Is
back
it
in
is it
right
still
order.
is it still turning
It's
on?
I just started it again. It's still turning on.
You better keep it on for another 5 minutes after this then, because you just turned it on twice, short periods of time. So yeah,
Oops. All
it's
right.
it's good that it can, but
5 minutes.
keep it on for 5 minutes and let it
Five
continue topping
minutes.
off.
You
Yeah,
got thank you.
yeah.
Unity and multiplicity.
There we go. We're
And Chris saw
team
that it was good.
teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
unity and
Thank you, Saint
multiplicity.
Christopher, for helping me travel.
Gosh darn it! Oh, you got me again. Oh, because I'm literally helping you travel. That's annoying. Gosh. Okay. So God created man in his own image, male and female. He created them. Now, this is weird. That's one thing in the takeaway I didn't get. In his own image,
Okay.
male and female. Why can those two things be together? In
Is
his image.
because both male and female were made in God's image. In the image and likeness of God. We're
Is
we're
God kind of unisex, or is it
yes, my wife and I are both image bearers of God. Okay, so
why? Because of the. I
okay.
get. Well,
Well, we have
God is
you,
multifaceted.
you talk about gender roles, right? Like we both have sort of majors, let's say. So part of the work that we do of God's is
I guess the
subduing the earth and filling it with life, right?
differences.
So
I guess the differences in us are less than the similarities. But yeah, sorry,
yeah,
continue.
well, yeah, males are we both genders fill the earth and subdue it and fill it with life, right? But
Okay, yeah.
the males sort of major in the subduing the earth and minor in the filling it with life, while the women
Mm.
sort of tend to major in filling it with life and minor in subduing the earth. Yeah,
Say makes still sense.
yeah.
Oh,
So and
goodness
you can see
gracious,
that in
you are
the
made for this.
curses later too, where like the way that the curse happens will be like cursed is the ground because of you. Well, that's because it's the curse is being given to us in terms of subduing the earth. And when he curses Eve, it's like pains in childbirth. It's because her part of the curse is being framed in terms of filling it with life now.
Gosh,
They're both kind of saying the same thing, but it's
even if
yeah.
a person did not believe in God, let's say a person was a complete atheist, all they would have to do is read the Bible and they could have a good marriage. Like if they under, if
Well, the other way, okay, this is kind of cool. The other way that we're as a unit created in the image and likeness of God is like because God is triune, he's a trinity. There's the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, and then the marriage itself is meant to be a cord of three strands, right? So it's man, woman, and God. All right,
no,
so there's an image there too, and then that
no,
union, properly ordered, creates more life that
it's
just
the
kind of
it's the
multiplies that image
it's the
exponentially.
proper threesome.
Hmm.
Goodness.
Yep.
Oops. Did I say that?
I hate the phrasing, but I can't argue with it.
I'm sorry. I'm here to bring us back down to the world here.
Yeah, this is very irreverent, and in front of my mother. Come
Oh no!
on,
Is your mother here? Oh
her
no!
virgin ears.
Yes, I agree. How could I do otherwise? Okay, so just to continue with the takeaway. Gosh, you just made me red all over. Okay, in his own image. Okay, be fruitful and multiply. We filled that. Fill and rule over everything. Okay. Everything that moves on the earth will rule over. Behold, I've given you every plant yielding seed that is on the surface of all the earth, and every tree which has fruit yielding seed. It shall be food for you. Um, Basically, at this point, uh, he's given every green plant for food. And so at this point, another takeaway is we're vegetarians.
We're not though, but
But at this
are you?
point, no, no,
Well,
at
yeah.
this point in the
Oh, I
Bible,
meant like a takeaway in terms of like practical, like stuff that still applies to us is good because this is our story,
oh,
right?
oh,
This is for us. This is our origin story.
our origin story is
Um,
we were
right,
vegetarians
we
and now we're
we are
not.
s- we're stepping into the story of the Bible as Christians already in progress,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
When we like say go to church to be our in our core group of family members in God's family, we are participating in the life of the church already in progress,
Hmm.
right? And this is the start, and there will be an end, but it's like a new beginning. It's we're a part of this. It's a myth that's real. But it's yeah. But we do need to like we need to take these takeaways, right? Like because
So
because okay, so if
I
you
was
okay, so let's say one of the
I
one
was
of the
doing
ways
a
that we can think
takeaway.
about this, like in our culture.
I was doing a takeaway wrongly where I was walking through basically what
Oh,
we had done so far and giving a summary.
uh,
So
oh, I meant more of a yeah,
what's
like
a
a Bible
takeaway you can
study.
see so far?
Well, okay, okay. So, like, how in
I'm
our
new to
world do
Bible
we really
studies.
live as though, yeah, how in our modern culture do we really live as though we know we're supposed to be filling the earth with life exponentially and abundantly, and also trusting in God to provide for us all when we do so, right? Because it doesn't
I
it doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like we have the attitude where we definitely like know that, like,
Well,
and
you
live
know
that
what?
way. Um.
This would be my thought. If I were to have a takeaway in that way, if I were to
Mhm.
hear that, knowing what I know currently, it would be marry a woman, have lots of kids, don't worry about the money. It's gonna be fine.
Whew. Unless it's not.
It doesn't matter. You already did it anyway. If
Yeah, I
you
guess it
tried,
doesn't. Yeah.
it doesn't matter. Have faith. Unless it's not,
Yeah.
whatever.
I mean, the worst that can happen is God has to resurrect us from the dead.
There you go. And in that case, there's spirits up there in heaven that were innocent spirits anyways. So good on you. You already created. So uh have babies.
Okay, Lord have mercy on us. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whew.
You might not like it currently, but make some babies. And it'll be fine. It'll be better or worse, but God's gonna have more spirits. So anyways, horrible thought, but also maybe potentially great. Horrible for us. Good for them. Uh
Yeah. On that note,
yeah,
well,
yeah.
I said we should probably cut ourselves off at least by 12.
Yeah, yeah, it's about
Have I
that
been
time.
letting my car run for 5 minutes, you think?
Yeah, you're good. Let it off.
I'm good?
Turn your
Okay.
vehicle off. See, okay, keep all of your electronics off. Stop all of the parasitic drains. Whole thing in the car, anyways, is because Gito's vehicle was dead battery, and we basically charged it up during this whole thing. So, so, so otherwise, we would have different lighted circumstances. You would be in your office. I would probably be in my garage right now because my kids are sleeping in the house. Um, but because you're in your car, I'm in my car. Um, so yeah, yeah. Your car is probably good for the morning as long as it's been reliable so far, and it was just your child leaving the lights on your car, which is God bless his soul. That's the reason why we're here right now.
This has been a very productive transition episode.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is breaking it up, man. We've only had one episode, two episodes so far, but this is really a good interlude.
We finally finished chapter 1.
Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, I can't wait to get back to more Genesis.
Mhm. All right.
All right, hey,
Good night, man.
you have yourself a good night there, man. Sleep tight, and we'll talk next week. All right.
God bless.
God bless you too. Bye for now. How do I end this?
How do
There
I
we go. Bye.